This 17-year-old preppy motherfucker comes in and is like, nah. Oh my gosh. And shout out the Pat McAfee show. We know we're big fans on here. Fucking Ty Schmidt on there, dude. He's a great impersonator. He goes, no, bro, Garrett Wilson went mad dummy, yo. And he took the game ball, took over the post game, and gives the game ball to Garrett Wilson. You could see the players in the back, bro. Like, what the
Wait,
fuck?
what did he say again?
He's a Garrett Wilson went mad dummy, yo. And welcome back to another episode of your favorite Couch Potatoes. I'm your host, Jay Cubs, joined by Feisty, again, fresh off an NFL slate, dude. We are getting into the thick of it after this week finishes up. Just 2 weeks till the playoffs, so that's exciting and want to get right into it. But I want to start with some fighting news. We like to follow that a little bit. Your boy, Conor McGregor, returning to fighting, but not the UFC. Apparently, he's going to fight Logan Paul in a boxing match in India. So, oh my fucking God. I mean, we know how you feel. I know you're a big fan of him. You know how I feel. Like, I'm a fan of him, but like, I've kind of, I root against him sometimes. I feel like, I was definitely going for Dustin in his last fight and everything like that. But this move, I hate, bro. Everybody only really wants to see you in the UFC, and now we're just going to a stunt fight. I think this move it says delay his return, but like, I don't really see him coming back anymore. I think I said that before about something else, but now I definitely don't see him coming back.
Yeah, I mean, and especially where Logan's fights have all kind of been BS. Like,
Yeah.
we're all finding out all the stupid stuff all the stunts that they've been doing and all that craziness. So I think that this is just going to be another stunt fight where Logan Paul is going to have to get away with it and Connor's going to have to get paid. And you know
Yep.
what's better is Connor knows how to put on a show. So wait for the weigh-ins and all the press
All that,
conference,
yeah.
like he knows how to put on a show and he doesn't care. And he's gonna do that, but I would hope that Connor does not care enough that he would beat the shiz out of freaking Logan Paul because we need that, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't feel like it's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be more of a stunt fight.
Yep.
And we're just gonna continue to see these and it's unfortunate because this one's gonna be a big one because of the way Connor swagger, the way he doesn't care, and cross conference is gonna be heated. But ultimately, it's just gonna be a pretend fight. So
Yep. And Connor's a showman. That's what really made his name, not saying that he wasn't also a great fighter, but like that was more what, I guess established his career in the UFC. That's what you really remember is his press conferences. So yeah, that's
yeah,
exactly what this will be. But even worse, because it, like you said, it's not going to be leading to a real fight. So
for sure.
all right, well, let's move into the NFL. So before we get to this week's, let's recap what we missed last week. So Sunday Night Football, I think we talked about it. Packers had that game in hand pretty much as we were recording, and they sure did, man. Dominating from the get-go. Like I said, Josh Jacobs had a great day. He had a touchdown, 94 yards on the day, and also added 42 in the air. And Geno, he was struggling, throwing picks and stuff. He actually goes down in this game. And then Mr. leading the lead in picks last year, Sam Howell comes in and does his thing, gets right back to it, throwing more picks. And the Packers get the 30-13 win in this game. And that loses the lead in the NFC West that the Seahawks had to the Rams. And then also because of the playoff like schedules, this clinched the Vikings playoff berth at least, so they are clinching the playoffs. And yeah, Rams now leading the NFC West after this game.
Man, I don't know what you could really say to try to help Geno Smith out a little bit. It seems like when there's a time that needs stuff to happen, he ends up not coming through, and unfortunate for him to go out in this game. And like you said, Sam Howell doing things that he always does, and and there was another pick. So unfortunate ending for them, but you knew that the Packers were going to win this one. I think we all picked the Packers to win it anyway.
We did. We didn't
So
get the the whatever announcer curse or whatever
Yeah.
the board or
Commentator
whatever. So
curse.
that was good. Yeah, Packers
Yeah.
in Seattle, man, still dominated, and I even heard that I didn't hear it, but people said you could hear like "Go Pack Go" chants in Seattle.
Oh wow.
Just so weird,
That's a
man.
first.
Like Seattle's such a home field advantage, and it feels like they're
Yeah.
losing it because I know the Bills dominated earlier when they went and visited Seattle. So pretty
Right.
crazy. And then what would have belonged in the dog shit hour last week is both Monday Night Football games, man. These were tough to watch. We get two games. Oh, wow. How exciting. Vikings, Bears, Falcons, Raiders. And it's exactly what you expect with all of those teams. Vikings kill the Bears. Bears had a chance to kind of come back, make it close, but they had a lineman come in that didn't report as eligible when he was in like he was in a position. I think he was the fullback. So he has to report as eligible or
Oh
something like
yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
so typical bear shit, you know what I mean?
And he
And
had a good block on the guy too. Like it
mhm.
was a crucial like
It
I
would
don't
have been
remember,
like I
is a
think a one
touchdown
score
or a
game or
first
something
down? Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a touchdown. Yeah, and it would have made it a one score game, I think. So like, you never know. You probably the Vikings still win that thing, but you never know how that momentum would shift. You know what I mean? And then
Right.
let's get to our boy, man, Caleb Williams throwing fits on the sideline. Man, he's like laying down all the way on his back. I mean, shit you just have not seen before. And then I don't know if you saw it, but him just like, did you see the little hop skip thing he did, like
Yeah.
to jump over nobody? Like he's just so scared out there, dude. And for good reason because his offensive line is pretty terrible, but also he holds on to the ball so much and tries to do too much. Now he's jumping over Casper, dude. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Well, I mean, he thinks that he's still in college, and I think that's the hard part. Like, the NFL is so different. He tries to scramble so much. He tries to do the little things and to the extent. And so I don't feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for the Bears. I would hope that they could get him some help with that old line, but at the same time, Caleb Williams thought that this was going to be his show, and so far he hasn't done a single thing to help the Bears. He hasn't done a single thing to help himself.
Yep.
Actually, Keenan Allen's numbers kind of started to go up a little bit like this past like 4 weeks, but other than that, it's just been like a dog shiz hour.
Dog shit for sure.
Yeah.
What I can't remember. I think they were 4-2 at one point, and they're still 4 and whatever now. 4-10, 4-11. So
Ah.
yeah, it's tough, man. And yeah, it just shows how important that offensive line is, man. I'll say it and I'll say it again because Romo Dunze's great. I think he'll be a great talent in this league.
Yep.
But if you got a tackle, you'll be talking about a different team right now. I mean, for everything we've said about Caleb, I know he is on a really I think he might have broken the record this week, which we'll get into, but like inter- most pass attempts without an interception. He's not throwing interceptions. Now, the part of it is because he holds on to the ball pretty much all the time, way too much, but he's not turning the ball over. And if he had some time to sit there, he could, get down the field, but he's always just scrambling around,
Yep.
running around, like you said. So,
Yep.
and then Falcons Raiders, I didn't even bother to watch this game, man. I was like a little more focused on Vikings and Bears, and like hopefully it was at least a good game. You got some good guys in there, but 15-9 win for the Falcons. Obviously, they need that win. They're still in that playoff hunt, but Mr. Kirko Walmart Chains,
Jeez.
baby, got his touchdown. So he's thrown a touchdown in the last month. But he
Last
also
month.
throw what did he throw a pick or two
Yeah.
in this game? Did not look good. They barely squeaked by the Raiders. So yeah, both of these teams belong in the dog shit hour.
Imagine like winning barely to the Raiders that are bottom of the bottom of the bottom.
Yeah,
So
112 yards against the Las Vegas Raiders, man. It's tough, but that's Kirko Walmart chains for you. So we'll
yes,
have to see
sir.
what's going on with him this week. So let's get into this week. It starts with Thursday night football, and thank God we're back to having a good Thursday night football game, man. Your boy Bo Nix and those Broncos. Oh boy, they came out
Yep.
on fire, bro. Scored touchdowns on their first three possessions. What'd you think of how the Broncos started there and how Bo Nix looked?
Yeah, I mean, this was the battle of the Oregon Ducks, former Ducks, QBs. So it kind of was for me. I was like, I remember you asked me this question a while ago. You said, "Who do you think is going to have the better career, Bo Nix or Justin Herbert?" And I believe I picked Bo Nix, and
You did,
from
yep.
the start, I've believed in Bo Nix. I think he just is a different caliber player. He just needed time to adjust, and then with having Sean Payne, like I just feel like they have a really good team. Their defense is finally starting to show up, and so I felt like overall this was a really good game for them, and you would think that they would have ran away with this game, but that didn't
Chargers
happen, did it?
didn't charge her, you know what I mean? They did their thing and they hung around. They had that weird, I don't know if you like saw it or understood it. I'm still not sure I quite fully understand, but it's like a kick catch interference with no time left or something. I don't know, but apparently Jim Harbaugh knows the rule. It's his favorite rule, and they have that on a punt. And then because of that flag, they get a free kick. So they got a free kick at the end of the half to get a field goal. And then after that, bro, fucking the Chargers
Never looked
came
back.
to play, dude. They did
Yeah,
not look back in the second half. They dominate. Broncos are only able to manage 2 field goals in the second half, and the Chargers get the 34-27 win to go ahead there in the AFC. Not the obviously not the lead in the AFC West, but just up the standings and in much better playoff position in a game that if the Broncos win, they clinch. But now that they lose, and we'll get into the games that the other teams that they're looking against, it's not
tough.
technically
Yeah,
written in stone, man, because Broncos after this, they got, I think, Chiefs and then Chargers, if that's right. So very tough games left. And if I think if they lose the 2 games and either the Bengals, Dolphins, or Colts win their last 2, 3 games, then one of those teams will make it into the
they're
playoffs.
it.
So
Yeah,
they certainly, if they win a game, we're done. We're talking about the Broncos are in the playoffs, but I've been saying it for a few weeks that it looks pretty set in stone. It might not be.
yeah. I mean, that's the thing about the playoffs, right? Like we get all these hype, and teams kind of do terrible at the beginning of the season. Stuff happens. Then all of a sudden, they start pushing towards the end of the season. You have the Colts still in
Mm-hmm.
this. You have the Miami Dolphins still in this somehow, and so it looked like they were running away with it just because they were on fire, and Bo Nix was doing what he needed to do to get continue to get steam up. But now, like you said, it's hard to tell who's really going to win this, and they have tough matchups, and those guys may not have as much of a tough schedule left. So this is where my favorite part of the NFL is, right? You kind of crunch those numbers, try to figure out every
Yeah.
scenario of what team's going to be in it and what team's not going to be in it. So
I wish I
I'm
had a
just,
TV back here like those one guys that are like, all right, if it, if the Broncos win here, that
yeah,
it's a 67% chance, but
yo,
you know what I mean? It's fun to go through all that kind of stuff, like you're saying.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's Bengals and Chiefs left for the Broncos. So that Bengals Broncos game gonna be huge for both of those. That's a
both teams.
playoff game, right?
Yeah,
That's a playoff game right there before playoffs even start. So that's gonna be awesome, man.
for sure.
Cannot wait. And I think that's this Saturday. And speaking of Saturday, we had a couple of games this Saturday because these 4 teams are playing on Christmas Day on Netflix, baby. Screw the NF or the NBA, man. NFL is taking over Christmas Day in the sports world. I'm excited for it. It's going to be some good games too. Hopefully, we don't have a Mike Tyson,
Yeah, I was
Jake
about to say,
Paul
you think they
thing,
can
but
handle all that?
hopefully, bro. I think it's going to be different because I think that fight was like worldwide, so maybe it
Yeah.
was a little bigger. And the NFL is probably after seeing that, like, hey, Netflix, we're going to figure this shit out. We're going to make sure we have what we need. But speaking of, let's get into those Saturday games. Texans, Chiefs, baby. What a great game. And something we did not mention last week was that the Texans clinched the AFC South with that win against the Dolphins and then the
Yeah.
Colts loss. And your boy, I know you've been a big fan of him for a long time, Hollywood Brown, he comes back in this game, plays pretty well. And man, thank God, thank anybody that is holy that Patrick Mahomes, he is healthy enough to play, buddy. Can you even believe that? Can you believe he was healthy enough to play?
Can you
Wow.
believe we don't have a jacuzzi? That kind of reminds me of that.
Oh my god, dude! I'm so fuck. Try not to
Dude,
be that hater, but bro, every fucking year there's some Patrick Mahomes injury that would keep any other quarterback out for 2 to 3 weeks. Oh wow, look at this tough guy comes back in, running around everywhere on a high ankle sprain. Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah. Oh my god. So yeah, Patrick Mahomes and then his buddies on the Chiefs and then the those guys in the stripes, man. Help him out again. Oh
a
my
little bit,
god,
huh?
dude. Little bit in this one. I've been trying to hold off, but like just keeps getting worse. And now I think one thing too is you're gonna look at every flag that is called and be like, oh, just because that's the Chiefs. But I don't know, like if you saw it, but there was an offensive PI call on Tank Dell that it made no sense in the entire world to
Yeah,
me. I mean, he didn't shove off, he didn't push, grab nothing, and they just called it on him. And that I think it was like it would have been a first down or something like that. So it kicked them back out of field goal range or something like that. So it was like it ended up being a scoring penalty. But
you're right.
you know what the Chiefs are able to get done, especially with their stripes and help. So they get the 27-19 win, get yet another one possession game win to move up to 14-1 on the season.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is here is Texans. They're not looking good. They seem to be struggling left and right. It and now especially where they lost a good player for the season, probably it's almost like it's not the same Texans that
Yes.
we thought last year, right? Like they're so high power offense. We thought
Mm-hmm.
Joe Mixon's coming over was gonna be able to like just push them to that playoff spot, but like they've kind of struggled. They started out with the season on fire, but now, so far, this last 6 weeks, I would even say they've kind of struggled to figure it out. They're kind of winning games closely, or they're getting beat by 2 touchdowns or more. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of interesting. I think that they need to figure something out and need to go back to that Texans that we knew, that best team in Dallas that we know that they are, right? So
Yeah, dude, the CJ Stroud memes are just on fire right now, and I like feel sad laughing at him because
yeah,
I'm like, oh, I like CJ. I think he's good, but I
good
think it
guy.
might just be sophomore slump. He definitely surprised people last year. People got more tape on him. That happens. He's going to be a great quarterback in this league. I fully believe that. Something you did mention, yes, Tank Dell, man. Very, very terrible. Really sad
Yep.
to see. And ended up being friendly fire. Teammate dove into his own knee and really gruesome injury. Everybody knew right away he was going to be done for the season. I did just see he's out of the hospital.
Yeah, he's back in Texas.
So that'll be good. But yeah, he is done. And Texans, like you said, lose yet another one of their key weapons, and that explosiveness is just you still got Nico
Right.
Collins, you got your best one, but now everybody's going to be keyed in on him and Dalton
Yeah,
Schultz, and it's going to be a lot tougher,
100%.
man. All right, well, let's get into the other Saturday game. That was the Steelers and Ravens. This is
Yes,
one of
sir.
Wesley's picks because he is a homer.
Homer.
And speaking of his team, the Steelers, they did clinch the playoffs last week. Despite their loss, because of I think like the Colts loss or somebody's loss, they were able to clinch. And then wanted to talk about before we get into the game, Deontay Johnson, man, officially released this last Friday, so right before the game. So the Deontay's time in Baltimore quickly comes to an end. They could not see eye to eye, I guess. Obviously, he got the 1 game suspension. They said earlier in the week they excused him from team activities and then ended up releasing him, man. What do you make of that?
Something about those Steelers receivers, man. Something about them, man. Just not
Something's
looking.
going on.
Something about them, and you would hope that that's not the case, but you have an opportunity to showcase your skills. You're getting paid millions of dollars, and you're asked to go into a game. You don't like, and then you go through this whole thing, and now I mean, somebody's gonna be wanting a receiver to kind of get push them through um, the playoffs, like we talked about with Odell. But like,
Hmm.
would you really want this
Yeah, do you
cancerous
want that
player?
on your yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
I
do you want
wouldn't.
that? I think it might be tough, especially in that kind of building. In a winning building, you don't really want to add something like that.
Yep. No, 100%. So That's my thing. My take on it is that he's struggling something, and I think he needs to figure out himself first before anybody else can really take him to any kind of run. Because that's just some player type of player you just do not want in your locker room. Because one bad apple can, the saying.
Definitely. And you know what? It might have sparked the Ravens, man, because they came out on fire. Now, George Pickens was out again. He misses his third straight game. And I remember, dude, like playing in fantasy this week, going for the championship, baby. Hopefully we can get it. But I left the Ravens defense in because I was like, without George Pickens, I feel like
Yeah,
the Steelers just offense just goes not to shit, I'll say, but just is completely different. You know
flows.
what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Especially for Russell Wilson, because Russell Wilson, he's built on those moon balls, he's built on those deep shots, which is
Yeah,
what George Pickens brings. And without him, man, that offense just shrinks so much. And so that's why I left the Ravens. So I had the Ravens defense and I left them in because I was like, I feel confident that the Ravens defense, even though they might not be the best, can handle Seattle in a divisional game. And they did for the most part.
or
The
you
the
mean the
Steelers did
Steelers?
score. What's that?
You mean the Steelers?
No,
You
the
said Seattle.
Ravens. Oh, sorry.
You're still
Yes.
on that game. They lost.
Okay, Steelers and Ravens. Yes, so I left the Ravens defense in because the Steelers, without George Pickens, that
Yep.
offense is different. There we
Yeah.
go. Okay, and it kind of showed. Russell Wilson did throw a pick six. The Ravens got that and just really never looked back. Lamar did his thing, threw for 3 touchdowns, did throw an interception that it was his fault, but didn't matter in the end. Get the 34-17 win and clinch their playoff spot and make that AFC North interesting, man. I think they're both tied atop of it now. And yeah, going to make these last 2 weeks for that. That's huge, man. That's a home playoff game versus going to, maybe Houston, which maybe you might be gettable, but if you go to Buffalo, you're definitely not wanting to play there in the
Yep.
playoffs. So,
Yep.
man, it's gonna be interesting.
I mean, I guess the thing though on that is though that both teams are kind of used to the that cold times, but not as cold as Buffalo, right? And so either way, I think I'd rather take the Texans than to take on the Bills.
Yeah,
Um,
but definitely
but
want the
yeah,
home game either way for sure.
but I
You know
think
what I
that
mean?
if you get Lamar matched up with the Bills, that's a fireworks game. So I would be here for it. And I think also the Texans, if they can figure their shiz out, I think that would be a good freaking game too. But they're kind of struggling to kind of hit that bus and get going. But overall, this game kind of was a not so good for the Steelers and more of just Ravens doing what they've been doing, and Lamar
Derrick
Jackson just
Henry came
continued.
back to form too. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, and Lamar Jackson continued to be in that midst of the MVP caliber player that he is, and the caliber player that he just continues to prove and get better. So, and like I said, man, he's making it look like he is a quarterback that
Hmm.
can stay in that pocket, throw the ball, and instead of just get your first option, oh, they're not there, take off. Like it's
Yeah,
not necessarily there for him. It's more of it's a third option for him now. It's like I go for my number one, number two. Oh, I can't see it. Okay, now I can escape, and he's still looking down the field. So I'm loving what he's doing. That's for sure.
yeah, me too, man. It's crazy. I think Josh Allen's got it locked up, but this is Lamar's best year. That's
Yep.
what's crazy. He's a two-time MVP and he's not going to get it. But hey, man, he's got bigger. He's already got the MVPs. I know what he really wants, and that's that Super Bowl. And they look like a team, despite those 5 losses, man. They look like a team that can do it as long as they can stay healthy. So,
Yep.
hell yeah, man. And hey, if I can make it, I'm definitely on Lamar's side because I need a big game for my championship. So
Yes,
it's gonna
sir.
be it's gonna be interesting for sure, man. Because the Steelers got Bengals and Chiefs on. So Chiefs are on Christmas Day, and then they finish the season with the Bengals, who are still going to be playing for something. You think. And then the Ravens play the Texans on Christmas Day, and then finish their season with the Browns. So tougher end of the season for the Steelers for sure.
Yeah.
You're gonna need a big win, and we'll see. Yeah, we'll see who takes that AFC North, baby.
Well, I mean, I did see that there's a report that George Pickens should be able to play
Yep, Mike
on
Tomlin did
Christmas
come out
Day.
with
So
that. Yeah,
hopefully that will kind of help boost up their offense again because they need that big threat.
They definitely do. Shows how good of a player he is, man. It's kind of like that similar. I won't say maybe quite as impactful as TJ Watt, but pretty damn close. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Especially with what he brings to that offense. So, all right, and I wanted to make some picks, so we made these before the game. Game is currently going on right now. But Sunday Night Football, the Buccaneers versus your Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if you're still claiming them, but they are playing, and yeah, let's make some picks, buddy. So I'll start it off. I'm gonna take the Bucks, obviously, in this one, but I think it's gonna be closer than a lot of people might think. I'm gonna take them by 3.
that's it.
That's yeah, dude. I
That's all
believe
you
in
got.
Cooper
Well,
Cush.
I picked the Bucks as well, baby. There's no way I'm going for that. I don't think I've watched the game for a while, to be honest with you.
Still hurting you, huh?
I'm still hurting, man, and good for Cooper Rush. He seems to actually kind of figured it out. Kind of pushed the team through some tough wins. But yeah, I think the Bucks take this one. I think that they're needing it more than we do. We're already eliminated from the playoffs, with the Commanders win and the Rams winning as well. So I say Bucks by 10.
Oh boy! So we did
No
make these
mercy.
picks before the game started. Want to be credible, but as we speak, buddy, Turpin in the back of the end zone for a
Oh shoot.
touchdown to put the Cowboys up 10-0 at home.
I
This
meant the
guy doesn't
Cowboys by
even
10.
believe in him. There you go. Just switch it up real quick. So we'll update you as that game goes along. But let's get into our favorite hour of our entire week, and that is the dog
Dog
shit
shit
hour.
hour.
And let's start it off with Dolphins and 49ers because you know exactly how I feel about those Dolphins. I definitely saw it through all of you guys for quite a loop, which is why I waited. I didn't even tell you guys pre-show or anything what I was going to do. And yeah, man, you know how I feel about the Dolphins, and they're both having a dog shit season. Both 6-8. I think technically in playoff contention still, but definitely getting hard. You know, this is one of those teams we were talking about. And I did want to mention, we didn't mention it last week, wide receiver Grant DeBose. That was a huge, very, very scary injury to the head. He went limp and was stretchered off of the field against the Texans last week. He is still in the hospital, but he's getting positive results, regaining movement in the extremities. So we're very
Yeah.
happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Some bad news on the other side. We're talking about Devondre Campbell. We talked about him last week, the guy who left the team and refused to go into the game. So they didn't end up cutting him technically, but they suspended him for 3 games, which is the rest of the regular season and probably the 49ers season, as it's looking like they're not going to make the playoffs.
I think they're
So
eliminated officially too.
yeah, I think
With the
so
49ers.
because of this game, and we'll get into it a little bit. Debo maybe getting himself off the dog shit list because he went off in this game, got his first touchdown since week 6. But then the Brock Purdy hater club would love to put him in the dog shit hour because he loses the game for him right at the end. Man, they had a chance. They were, I think, tied and then down 3 late, and then when they have a chance to go tie it up, Brock Purdy just throws it right to the guys in white in Miami, and picks it off, and then Miami's able to get the 29-17 win after Devon A. Chain gets free for the
That's
50-yard touchdown to end the game, man. So Niners
yeah.
lose, and yeah, did you say did you see that are they officially eliminated
Yeah, I
now?
think it said that since the Rams and the Commanders officially lost that or won, the 49ers and the Cowboys are officially eliminated,
Ah,
which
man.
makes me
Good and bad
so
news for you.
happy.
Good and
49ers
bad news there.
eliminated, perfect. We'll get into it later on, but the Eagles,
We got to get
sorry.
out of the dog shit hour. I know you'd
Yeah.
love to put them in there, but we
Yep.
got to get out of there before we go
Yeah,
into it.
but no, overall, this game, I think that um, the 49ers continue to struggle, continue to show that this is not their season. Thanks to
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey. That's all we're going to blame for. And it just, the team's hurting continuously. They have continued to be just like the Cowboys. Every week, somebody's hurt. Every week, somebody's out or whatever it is. So I don't feel bad one bit for them. I love to see the Dolphins get a dub. And continue to kind of show that they are a good team. They just have had a terrible time without their quarterback. So I know what you're gonna say, but I
Yeah.
don't want to hear it.
Yeah, yay. They got another win against a team that doesn't have a winning record. Congrats, Miami. Hang the band. Hang the banner. Just hang it, man. You guys are just so good at beating up shit teams, man. I remember I actually like saw this stat that's really cool. It shows the teams wins versus good teams, bad teams, and then like overall and their point differential in all of it. And it shows like looking at the Dolphins here too. So teams above 500, they're minus 58, and then teams below 500, they're plus 22, which is a total of minus 36. So just kind of like it shows that who you can beat and whatnot. Now teams
Yeah,
like look at the Vikings, they're 17 points above with teams above 500, 100 points above teams that are below 500. So they're absolutely killing teams. So I think that was a pretty cool stat. I'd love to go through all of it. I'd have to show it to you, but yeah, obviously we don't have
yeah.
enough time for that. But it shows who you can beat. Same thing with the Texans. Texans are minus 29 against teams above 500 this year, and then plus 57 below. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's just my thing, man. And I don't want to hate, Mike McDaniel. Now he is in my division, so I always will because, that's what you do with the teams in your division. But I just genuinely, I think that it's something that's showing to be true, and
Yeah.
you gotta win at some point, right? I think it's the same thing you're talking about, like with Mike McCarthy, like you mentioned last week. Do we want to bring this guy back when he's proven, like, okay, maybe you can lead us to a decent season? What, you guys were the second seed last year, right?
Mhm.
But then you haven't won a serious game, you haven't won anything of real importance with Mike McCarthy, so you want to move on, right? And that's how I
Oh
think
yeah.
about, like, with Mike McDaniel. Like,
Yeah.
but it's flashy. The offense looks really good. I get that, but where are the important wins?
Yeah. No,
And
I
they're a
mean it
team that
makes
hasn't
sense.
had a playoff win since 2000. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
dying for it. So that's my thing. But I get that he's a good coach. He's just gotta prove it. He might be on the short lease. And then on the other end, before we get out of this game, I think if you like Brock Purdy, like let's say you're a Niners fan, you like Brock Purdy, in the long run, this might be good for your team because you know how everybody's like, well, Brock Purdy's going to get paid after this season. Maybe the Niners can get away with, like, hey, we want to give you a prove it deal. You know what I mean? A 2-3 year deal, a little bit cheaper. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's not really proven he's worth $60 million like Dak Prescott, right? So maybe they can get him on sort of a cheaper contract. And
Right.
if you think he's good enough, then you can still have, the money to play your weapons.
And speaking of him not having money, isn't he like the lowest paid QB in the NFL?
He he probably is
This
because he
guy,
was, yeah, seventh rounder, and I think he just barely got over like the $1 million like
yeah.
threshold
Well,
or something
somehow
like
he
that.
has enough money to get all of, I don't know if you saw that, get all of his own line some nice freaking trucks. I don't know if you
Well, he
saw
does have
that.
that Applebee's deal, so he's probably got a lot from.
Ah! Yeah, I don't know where he got that money from, but he kind of gave his old line all brand new trucks from Toyota and some other, I don't remember what the other vehicle was, but each person got a brand new car. So I was like,
Yeah.
maybe he's not doing as bad as I thought.
Well, that's something you got to do for your old lineman, man. Unless you are the quarterback of the New England Patriots, because those old linemen don't deserve jack fucking shit. Let me get back into it with my freaking soapbox, man. Oh my God, let's get into it. So, some sad news to start is Christian Barrymore, a defensive tackle, unfortunately back on the non-football injury list. That blood clots that he was dealing with that kept him out most of the season. Unfortunately, those symptoms are reoccurring, which can be
Damn.
really scary. So, definitely, out for the season. Hope that he is healthy first and foremost. Maybe get him back next year, but just hope his health is okay. So rooting
Yeah.
for you, Barrymore. Somebody not rooting for, on less serious note, Gerard fucking Mayo, man. I am so done with this guy, dude. And it's not his worst stuff, but he makes another comment and then walks it back the next day. This one was about our offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt, saying that, and then he like took a shot about the play calling is what happened, and then he comes back the next day and says, "Well, I'm still learning or whatever," and it's like, are you? Are you really? Because oh my god, dude, and I want to like him. He's a former Patriot player and everything, but dude, when you see like Ben Johnson is out there and what Ben Johnson for the Lions could do for Drake May, oh man, I want to get rid of Gerard Mayo even more. You know what I mean? But it does look like he's here to stay, and which makes sense. Like you can't really give up on him on 1 year in a situation you knew was going to be bad. Like everybody knew
Yeah.
that the Patriots would be bad this year. So, but next year, reportedly, they're going to be aggressive in free agency. They do have that league high $96 million in cap space.
Wow.
So T. Higgins,
Wow. I know they're big on
any
him.
offensive lineman?
I
Let's
know they're big
go.
on him.
Let's go, baby. Can you imagine, like, if we could pay an O lineman, pay a wide receiver, draft an O lineman, bro? We might be in contention just like that, especially with a guy like Drake May. And that showed in this Bills game, man. He popped off, did his thing, got the Patriots out to a 14-0 lead. Feisty, give me the claps, give me the cheers, whatever. The Patriots held a 14-0 lead on the Bills, baby.
On the Bills'
Best
head, baby.
best moment of the season. And then the Bills came right back and scored 17 straight points to get a 17-14 lead at the end of the third. And then Drake May would proceed to throw a dart right off of Ramondre Stevenson's dome, and it was a backwards pass, so it ended up being a fumble
Fumble.
right on the goal line to get the Bills up 24-14. Now the Pats, they did score late, and they got a touchdown to Hunter Henry right there at the end. Needed a onside kick and a stop, but not enough. Bills are able to get the first down, run out the clock, and get the 24-21 win. Honestly, can't be too mad. Drake May did throw a bad interception. He's on a streak of, he's got a bunch of interceptions in consecutive games. Some have been his fault, some haven't. This one was definitely his fault. Ramondre had a fumble. And then obviously we had that weird fumble. So lots of turnovers that killed us in the second half, but we're still able to keep it within 3 points of the Buffalo Bills. And, I think this was your lock for the week at a 14-point line. So,
Yeah.
very, really
Huge
honestly, a good
difference.
game for the Patriots and one that they certainly could have won.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of really take it as a dub for them to hold that offensive Bills that they've been able to do whatever they
Yeah,
want
I
with
think
any
they were on
team.
a streak of like 30 points in like 8
30-point
straight
game.
games or something. And the Patriots were the one to
I held
snap
them
that
down.
streak of all people.
Yeah, I mean, division games always kind of bring out different animals out of players, and we talk about that all the time. Not necessarily rival, but like rivalries and division games, they just do. So, I do feel for the Patriots because it seems to be clicking in some ways, and then it's not. And
Yep.
you know what? You love to see the Drake May continue to ball out, even though he's making the small mistakes that he is. I think he's showing that he is a good caliber quarterback if he has the time to be productive with their offensive line being
Mm-hmm.
better, and also they're having actual weapons to throw to. And I know they're super heavily involved in T Higgins this year, trying to get him and trying to get him to come
Yeah.
to the Patriots. And I know that they've said that they would offer him the highest paid wide receiver, one of the highest paid wide receiver contracts. So
We did do that with Brandon Ayuk, and
didn't go so well. Look
but
where he's at.
yeah, but yeah, man. Hey, and a lot of people are
Bing, bing,
saying that would be. I wasn't ready. He wasn't ready.
bing.
But a lot of people are saying like, oh, T Higgins not really a true number one. He's just good because
Yeah.
Jamar Chase on the other side. But he actually saw a stat like he has some good numbers when Jamar Chase is injured, and
How?
I'm overpaying for T. Higgins. I don't really care. Like, he's definitely better than any wide receiver that we have on our roster
He
right
is,
now.
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
just ask this, like, what's the percentage T. Higgins is rostered in all fantasy leagues, and what's the percentage of all of our receivers combined?
You're a
You know what I
top
mean?
receiver.
right? Like definitely, even like yeah, Demario Douglas might be like our number one because he's kind of a PPR guy, but even then, like not that much. So yeah, we got some young guys and maybe some talent in the future, but not a number one, which we need in T Higgins. So yeah, I'm not too mad. Obviously, I want to beat the Bills, but we actually move up to number two in the picking game in the tanking game. So we have the number two pick
Yeah.
as of now. So
Travis
love to
Hunter.
see that. Maybe we just trade back and get another first round or something like that. But no. Especially because, and we'll get we'll get into it a little bit later. But I feel like Travis Hunter is starting to get some. Like a lot of people are saying he's going to be a corner. Like that's where he should be. And we got Gonzo baby from Oregon. We don't need to shut down corners. So all right, let's head up.
Doesn't hurt to have two though.
Yeah, and then Drake May, your defense is doing so good, but then Drake May gets sacked 3 straight times, and they have to go back
Exactly.
out there again.
Defense wins games, baby.
Yeah, true. Not when they're out there for 95% of the snaps, but all right, let's head up north to the NFC North with a division battle between the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears, who are a dog
Oh
shit.
shit.
And some dog shit news is that David Montgomery goes down with an injury last week. But some good
Fortunate.
news is it was reported as a season-ending injury, but he did not go through with a surgery. He's going to try to rehab it and make it back. I think I'm guessing for the playoffs. I don't
Yeah.
think they'll push him back for the end of the regular season. So that's huge for them, man. Sonic and Knuckles, big 1-2 punch for him. So definitely want to see that. Now, getting into the game, like I said, dog shit. The Detroit Lions do what they do. They score in their first 5 possessions. Bears, they had a decent few drives kind of in the middle of the game to not make it like at least a 35-0 blowout, but
Yeah.
they're obviously Lions get the win here 34-17. Jahmyr Gibbs has a good day without Montgomery. I think he had over 100 yards, most of the touches. Jamison Williams, like 27 points, just rotting on my bench after an 82-yard bomb to him. And then I don't know if you saw a cool play, but the Detroit
Yeah,
Lions,
the
Dan
fake
Campbell, they
fumble.
like to do the fuck, they
Yep.
like to pull some shit, man. And both Jared Goff pretend to stumble. Goff and Jahmyr Gibbs fall
Yep.
down and get a wide open Sam Laporta in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. So Detroit looks good. Their defense, albeit the Chicago Bears, looked a lot better with all those injuries. So yeah, get a much needed win and stay atop the NFC standings.
Well, I mean, we'd love to see Caleb Williams suck. There's nothing really else to say in this game. The Lions continue to get better, continue to do things even when they have injured players left and right. And the good thing is they seem to get away with a lot of anything and everything they want with their offense. They're very creative, and I thought that was funny. And I can't believe it actually worked for a
I
wide
know.
open
I didn't
for a
recognize
touchdown.
it like live. I thought it was just, I actually thought it was
It's
real.
a
I got
fumble
faked out by it, but I was like, what the hell are they doing? But
because it
yeah,
worked.
that's the Lions for you, baby. Let's move along to another dog
Dog.
shit team, and that would be the Dog Pound Browns. Jameis Winston, some news on him. Some very, very sad news. I'm so pissed about this, man. Our meme quarterback officially relegated to the bench. Bye bye,
Oh.
Jameis Winston. I think they even put him as the number 3 quarterback.
Oof.
So tough look. Really sucks, man, because we love the memes and everything. But you know what? I get it because he throws so many picks, so
Yep.
many pick sixes. But honestly, like looking at this game, I think that the Browns might have had a chance. DTR, like he did okay, but it kind of reminded me of Caleb Williams, where he held the ball so much in this game, is what I saw. But he
Yeah.
ended up throwing 2 picks of his own, but he doesn't, he throws for 150 yards instead of 350 that Jameis might have been able to do. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
get the benching. You got to get it done with the turnovers, but Browns ain't able to do shit. Bengals obviously get the easy 24-6 win on this one.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say in this game except just kind of feeling bad for James Winston. He's a good guy. He deserves to be starter somewhere or backup, but to be putting him at the backup, that's kind of
You
unfortunate.
just gotta. Wish you just. you throw the ball away, one or two times a game, and you're talking about maybe still having a job and
Difference.
being winning and all these different things, man.
Yeah.
But it's Jameis Winston football, baby, and unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see anymore. Speaking of meme quarterbacks, though, a dog shit quarterback and Will Levis, another meme guy, benched as well for Mason Rudolph for the Titans. And they played the Colts this week. It looked really bad early. Colts went up super quick, super
Yeah.
fast. And Jonathan Taylor, man, like back when he was the number one pick in a lot of fantasy drafts, except for ours when I called you an idiot for not drafting him, and then he didn't do shit for me that year. But yeah, he went off for 218 yards, looking like prime Jonathan Taylor, 3 touchdowns. Titans did make a comeback, but Colts end up getting the much needed win, 38-30 in this game.
Yeah, I mean the biggest highlight of this game was just Jonathan JT just looking like he never lost a step. 218 yards, 3 TDs. Like that's a big payday for a running back to be able to do that at his level. I love to see it, but at the same time, Will Levis should have been benched a long
Yeah,
time
I
ago.
think I remember you saying that too. So now it's official.
That dude is not good at all, dude.
He really is not, man. And that neither of those were the biggest benching of the week, man. It is officially over for Kirko Walmart Chains. Mr. Dog shit himself, man. I feel bad for the guy. You thought he would be good. 180 million, 4-year contract for the dude. Benched in the midst of a playoff run. There were reports that Kirk Cousins was losing his confidence and things just obviously weren't going good. Like I said, he had one touchdown to like 9, 10 interceptions in the last 3 games,
Yeah,
leading the league in interceptions and I think fumbles too. So really not looking good for him. And yeah, they go to Michael Penix. They didn't want to do that with him this year. And obviously with that contract, man, now our views, I remember we were all like, what the fuck are the Falcons doing? Talk about a dog shit move by drafting Michael Penix number 8. But now it looks
yeah,
like the dog shit thing was giving a dude who tore his Achilles, hadn't played in however many days, years, whatever it was,
yeah.
$180 million that you're going to end up, reportedly they're going to end up cutting him before March 17th next year, so he doesn't get a $10 million roster bonus there. Man, what I mean, I know that Kirk's struggling.
Yeah.
I still think that, I think Penix can do good. And we'll obviously get into this game earlier or late a little bit later, but in the middle of a playoff run, you're only one game behind the Bucks right now. It's a tough move. It's an interesting move for sure. I think you still should have stuck with Kirk Cousins. You could have at
100%.
least rode it out to the end of the season.
Yep.
What else can you do? But now you put Penix in there. Now you definitely can't go back to Kirk. You have to stay with Penix, and we'll have to see if the young boy's ready to go. Well, not so young. He's like Bo Nix, played 7 years in
They're
college
only
football, but
23, 24. But I mean, the biggest thing is like Kirk Cousins, man. I do feel for him, and I don't feel anything for the Falcons for getting himself in this situation. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, you cut him before March 17th for a $10 million bonus, but he's
Still getting a
still
bunch of
getting paid.
guaranteed. Yeah.
Like, you know what I
Yep.
mean? So it's not gonna make a big difference for him. And at the end of the day, man, that's the Falcons. They continue to put themselves in bad situation. I would love to see Penix kind of take over and do his thing, but I just like you said, I just don't know if he's the guy for them yet. I
Right
mean,
now,
Michael
yeah.
Vick did it then, and he kind of has that similarities of the left-handed quarterback who can scramble and very electric, but it's just the NFL is different from the college level, and like you
Both
said,
of
I
their
think I
last
would have
names
stuck
are
around.
one letter away
Yep.
from being male genitalia. So basically, same guy.
Or there's that.
I saw that today. Had to.
Oh, there's that.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Such a great point that you were making, but it's
Yeah.
just right there, dude. You just threw it up to me. The similarities.
It is true, man, and they continue to just Stumble, stumble, stumble. Oh, and Kyle Pitts. That guy sucks.
Well, you know who really is dog shit is the New York Football Giants. And even though this was, first game for Michael Penix, kind of a perfect one because it is the Giants. Drew Lock
Yeah,
ends up starting, throws 2 pick-sixes in this game,
of
shades of
course.
Jameis Winston. So at least we got a little bit of that. Falcons get the 34-7 win, never close. It was mainly on the ground. Bijan Robinson went off. Penix looked okay. He threw a pick, no touchdowns. Overall, not like a bad performance, not a great performance.
Right.
Something that might be interesting, I wanted to get your opinion back to Kirk Cousins. Think about like Russell Wilson, right, with the Steelers, when the Steelers paying him $1 million. Now we'll get into the Vikings later and how Sam Darnold is having a great season. Now you definitely
Yeah.
want to go with him, right? I would think, like just based on how he's played, but dude's going to command a contract, right? And you let Kirk Cousins go because you pay Justin Jefferson and you're trying to allocate different, you know, money and stuff. And you have JJ McCarthy on the bench waiting next season, right? You drafted
Yeah.
him in the first round. If you can't pay Sam Darnold, like if you don't want to pay him to a long-term contract because you want to go with your future in JJ McCarthy, what about bringing, if JJ's not quite ready, you bring Kirk Cousins back to
Nah,
Minnesota with
not
Kevin
happening.
O'Connell. You don't think so?
Nah,
On
not
a 1 mil
happening.
whatever vet min deal?
No, no chance, dude. I think that ship has sailed. I would love to see it. I think we all kind of would love to see that reunion, but I think that ship sailed. I think that they kind of screwed him in a way because
Hmm.
they knew who their priority was.
Yeah.
And I think with him coming back, it would just be like him running home to where it's safe, right? Like he knows Minnesota, and
I
that's
think it
that's
would
been.
work out. I like the
Oh,
move.
I
I
don't
would
know.
what I would do, because you know how I feel about JJ McCarthy. Sam Darnold's still young.
Uh,
I'd pay Sam Darnold, bro. That's what I would do if I'm the Vikings. But I'm thinking that that's not how the NFL normally goes. So I feel
yeah,
like if you think Jay,
bring
because
back.
he's not really, obviously he's able to sit there, but he's not able to even practice. This season, get even practice reps. So
Yeah,
if you're not going to pay Sam Darnold, I'd bring Kirk Cousins back on the vet min. And if Kirk starts to suck, all right, JJ McCarthy time.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I see where you're going with it. I just don't think that ship is going anywhere.
I can
But
see what you're saying, like just
yeah,
personal, like relationships, that kind of
yeah,
thing. It's kind of
those
over. Yeah,
bridges have been burnt by now.
makes sense. Yeah. All right, let's move along to another dog shit game in the hour. But this one wasn't too bad. This was Cardinals Panthers. Actually ended up going to overtime now. And like I said, I haven't really been putting the Panthers in the dog shit hour. They've been playing pretty well, and they played well in this game. So why are they in there? Well, the Cardinals. Some good news before we get into the bad news is Buda Baker got his extension, 3 years, $54 million. Obviously, we know he's pretty much the best player on that team. Maybe you can
Yep.
say, obviously, Kyler Murray, but on that defense, no doubt, he's flying all over the field and plays many roles for that team. So love to see that for him. And yeah, it was a really close game, back and forth. Mr. Chad Ryland, he definitely must have been the tank master for the Patriots last season, because there's no chance he makes a 58-yard field goal for the New England Patriots last year, but he makes it for the Cardinals and sends the game to overtime. But Carolina gets the touchdown in overtime and officially eliminates the Cardinals from playoff contention because, and I know this is your favorite part of the dog shit hour, that would be, and probably mine, the New York Jets, who are
Dog
dog shit.
shit.
Oh man. And you know what? They started off this game pretty good, but they were obviously not explosive. It was kind of a low scoring game throughout. Even the Jets held Puka to relatively quiet game. Kyron Williams did run for I think over 100, and then the Rams explode late in the fourth quarter, score 13 points to get the win and get the 1 game lead. So that's why the Cardinals were eliminated, because the Rams win, they lose, they're officially eliminated, and
Yeah.
they will now have a 1 game lead in the NFC West, which we'll get into in just a second. But before we get there, man, I want to talk about. I mean, do you have any thoughts on this game, or do you want me to get into this? Because yeah, I know it was a pretty dog
Get into
shit
it,
game
man.
overall.
Yeah.
I want to get into this this ownership situation here. So the first reports came out was Woody Johnson nixed a trade for Jerry Jeudy because his Madden rating was too low. And wow, Woody Johnson really cares about Madden ratings. Well, I think it kind of came out that maybe it wasn't Woody, but his son that was the guy that ended up doing this. And oh my god! Because after they get the win last week, it was the Jaguars, but it was the first game win for Jeff Ulbrich, the
Yeah.
interim head coach. This 17-year-old preppy motherfucker comes in and is like, nah, 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 nah. Oh my gosh. And shout out the Pat McAfee show. We know we're big fans on here. Fucking Ty Schmidt on there, dude. He's a great impersonator. He goes, no, bro, Garrett Wilson went mad dummy, yo. And he took the game ball, took over the post game fucking whatever you call it, the like meeting
Post
in the
game.
locker room,
Yeah.
whatever, that when the coach speaks and everything, and gives the game ball to Garrett Wilson. You could see the players in the back, bro, like, what the
Wait, what
fuck?
did he
This is
say
like
again?
he's a Garrett Wilson went mad dummy, yo.
Oh, shit.
Oh my god. You know
That's
what? You know what's so good for us, me and you, the being Jets haters? You know that he's the son and he probably will just get inherited this Jets franchise and they're just gonna suck not only for Woody Johnson's life, but for Brick Johnson's life. Oh man. I mean, okay, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the Jets. They just suck, dude. They're a terrible franchise. They're going left and right. Aaron Rodgers is still booty cheeks. I've said it from the start. Ashwagandha and Alaska and all that crap's not working for him. I've said the jokes over and over again. There's reports that he might be coming back. There's reports that he may not come back. Dude, just retire. Like all your other quarterbacks from that era has retired. What are you waiting for, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, an owner letting his son not get a trade because his
You
that's hilarious. That sounds
don't
like a
need Jerry
typical
Judy because Garrett Wilson's out there going mad dummy, yo.
yo yo.
Although he did complain about, I think Garrett Wilson came out, not complain. I feel like it was a respectful, I shouldn't say complain, but he was like, his lack of involvement. He was like, I want to be more involved, but there's only
Yep,
so much I can do or something. I actually kind of like
yep,
respected his response, but it definitely has seemed like as of late, the last few weeks, like overall, Aaron Rodgers definitely favoring his boy Devontae Adams. And
yep.
not that Devontae Adams doesn't deserve it, you know what I mean? He's been going off, but I could see why Garrett Wilson would be frustrated. But man, that the Jets forever and eternity, I could see it, especially with this Brick
Uh,
Johnson dude. This 17-year-old kid too. He's like, whatever, 5 foot, whatever. He 150 pounds, has only been in private schools and yachts and jets his entire life, in the front of all these full ass grown ass men who can play the one of the most violent sports of all time for their livelihood, and he's just walking in there, man. Nah, fuck that. Garrett Wilson, mad dummy, yo. Oh, that's why the Jets are the Jets, baby. J-E. What is it you say?
I say Jets, 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 sucks. And then I say suck, suck, suck.
There we go. Yes, sir. All right, let's finish off the dog shit hour with the dog shit game of the week. The Jaguars Raiders, man. Boy, let's not even talk about it because fuck that. Nobody watched this game. Did you watch this game? I
Nope.
didn't watch this game. Who's watching this? Raiders actually end up getting the 19-14 win. Why is that
Whoa.
important? The only reason we even want to talk about it because that gets the Giants, who are
Dog
shit,
shit.
into sole possession of the number one pick right now. And actually, the Raiders fall all the way out of the top five. I think I mentioned Patriots number two, number two.
Mm.
If anybody wants to make some trades, if I was the GM, I'm definitely trading with you. So, oh man. And then I did one more thing before we finish out in this hour. We have the game tomorrow. I'm going to put it in there because the Saints, little dog shit this season. And unfortunately, some news before the game, Kamara feared to be done for the season. So that's definitely going to make it worse for them. I think Packers are like 14-point favorites. Don't expect that to be a game at all. Really sad for Alvin. I mean, he's been, their entire
The
offense at times.
brightest
You've had
part,
the
yeah.
MVS, but especially without Derek Carr, nobody's getting really that ball down the field. So kind of
I saw.
cooked for the Saints
I
this
don't know if
season.
you saw. What's his name? Spencer Rattler. His training regimen to get ready to play in the Green Bay.
What's that?
He's like training in like a fridge or some freezer, like just being weird, like just to get ready for the temperature. And I'm like, bro, what? Continue to be
Okay.
dog shit.
Dog shit. Yeah, they're probably going to stay there, man. Unfortunately, it's just not their season. So, speaking of though, let's get into our picks for this week. So, like I said, 14-point favorite Packers. That was my lock. So, still need to wait for those points, but feel pretty good about that. I did go for the 49ers as my underdog. Kind of wanted to, rub that one in. Didn't get the chance, so don't get the points there. But I did pick my random as the Rams, who were 3-point favorites over the Jets. So got my points there. Wesley's picks are the Lions as his lock. So they were 6.5-point favorites. Gets that lock there. The Steelers, what a homer
Homer.
was a 6-point underdog. They do not cover and they do not win the game, so he gets no points. He did pick the Colts as his random, as 3.5 favorite, so he gets the points there. Now, how about your picks, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, continue to have a solid week. Had another perfect week this week. Just already give it away. I had the Bills as my lock. Obviously, there's a good reason for that. Patriots suck. Continue to suck.
Hey,
We
Patriots
loved.
covered at least. Like you
Yeah, that
said,
is
it's a
true.
win,
They were
basically.
14. They were a 14-point favorite, but they ended up covering, and so I got my 3 points there. And then the game of the week in.
Who'd you pick?
I didn't pick the Eagles because they weren't flying. Hey, suck it, Susan.
Yo,
I'm,
that's my
I'm
mom,
just
man.
kidding. I love you. Second mother, I love you. I'm just kidding. But I had to. The Eagles
Hey.
suck, finally. Finally, dude. I just had a feeling about this game. The Commanders ended up losing to them the first time go around. So the Eagles were 3.3.5 points favorites over the Commanders. Big things happening in this game, right? That kind of forced the Eagles' hands. Jalen Hurts going out with a concussion on that like first
Yes.
quarter, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Very
Not
tough,
looking
man.
good.
Not what you good. And shout out our boy Sean. He was very, very sad to see that because he's also in the semifinals in our fantasy league, and that's his quarterback, man. So, and he still went off. I think he scored 137 points with like 4 of them from Jalen Hurts, man. So
Yikes.
imagine a full game from him, and I think he's gonna lose or lost ish by about like 20 points or something. Jalen Hurts could have made it close, So
For sure.
that's unfortunate. Definitely gonna ruin some people's fantasy days and really the Eagles overall. But then it was the Kenny Pickett show, man. Miss our boy Big Country because you know how much he loves him some Kenny Two Gloves or Kenny Small Hands as they like to call him. But he didn't do too bad. He did throw a pick and didn't look
Yeah.
great, but what do you got to do when you're not trusting the passing game so much? I think there's
You
that.
just
What's
feed
that
it.
guy's name?
It's
What's
a
that?
big quads,
Oh
big quad.
yes, quad father
Lee.
Saquon Barkley, 70-yard, almost a 70-yard touchdown yet again. He rips it off for 68 yards, man. In it, he has a great day. I think 150 something yards on the day.
Yeah.
And Commanders, they were struggling early in the first half, man. Bijan Robinson, two fumbles in this game. So it's looking like even without Jalen Hurts, Eagles are going to be able to get it done. But then the boy, you know how much I've been a fan of him, Jaden Daniels,
Rookie of
dude.
the year.
Fuck yeah, I think it's all but locked now. And I wouldn't say Bo Nix has struggled, but he hasn't been like
As impressive.
explosive, yeah, as
Yeah.
impressive these last few weeks. And with a game like this, hell yeah, for Jaden Daniels, probably locked it in 5 touchdowns, and that 5th touchdown, second and goal, 6 seconds left, ends up putting the Commanders up 3 with the extra point. which wins them the game, baby.
And we love that. Good on the Commanders doing what was right, setting this universe on a balance with the 49ers losing and the Eagles losing.
Hey, dude. I don't know if you want the
Ah.
Cowboys to win. Hey, yo, whoa.
That
Hmm,
set the whole
what are
world on
you
fire. We don't know if we want to
what are
go
you doing
there.
under there? Interesting. Hey, I don't know if you want the Cowboys to win, but what if you had your perfect week, baby? Niners lose, Eagles lose, Cowboys win.
Cowboys win. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't matter because the Cowboys are eliminated from any contingents of
So
anything.
the most important thing is just that the Eagles and Niners
The
lose.
Eagles are not
You've
lying.
been waiting 10 long weeks to say
Oh my gosh!
that.
Every week I was forced to say, "Eagles so good. Eagles are this. Eagles." Oh well, Jalen Hurts isn't there no more. What's gonna happen when you guys don't have your quarterback? Just saying. Just
I don't know
saying.
about
So,
Kenny Pickett.
anyways, I end up getting my points on this game, with the Commanders winning. And then my random game. We already kind of talked about this a little bit with Seahawks just not having the best of games. So the Vikings were 3 point favorites over the Seahawks. It actually came down to be a super close game, but you know what happens when Gino has the ball and it's a last minute game
Yeah.
decision
He does. I
play.
did I did see they had like he has like 30 something game-winning drives in his career. Like it's pretty good, but it's either
He
it's
also
either
has
that or it ends
38.
like really bad. Is it 38 game-winning
No,
drives?
just no, I was just saying he also has 38 games where he just throws a pick.
And
Just
that's
kidding.
exactly what he did here, man. Like you said, close game all the way, but yeah, they have 55 seconds left with no timeouts, I believe, and first play right to Minnesota. And they get the much needed win, I think, win their eighth straight, 27-24. And
Yeah,
at that Eagles loss, now it's just the Lions and Vikings sitting atop the NFC North and the NFC as a whole,
yeah,
which dude, that sets up for a really, really good end of the season. Now, Vikings got two divisional games. They got the Packers and then the Lions. So, if
my,
you can see the Lions getting through both of these games, or like let's say that the Lions get a win next week against the Niners, you would pick definitely the Lions there. And if the Packers or if the Vikings can get a win against the Packers, NFC North once or at one seed on the line
yeah.
for the NFC. That would be an
Firework.
awesome
Yeah,
game, man.
but I do see the Lions kind of edging this one. I think that the Packers have a better, or I mean, the
The
Vikings
Vikings.
have a tougher matchup against the Packers than
Yeah.
the Viking, or yeah.
Yeah, the
So then the
Vikings
Lions
playing.
do. Sorry,
Hmm.
English not very good. But it's gonna be interesting. Like you said, it would be really cool to see where that game, because Cowboys and Eagles have had many games where that last game of the season where they match up against each other, week 16 or whatever it is, they always end up playing against each other for that first place in the conference and the conference championship, and so it's always good to have that firework game to end with your season.
Hell yeah.
So I mean, I'm rooting for the Lions, dude. I will continue to root for the underdogs. I think that they deserve to be there. Dan Campbell is my guy, no matter what. So
Did you see? Speaking of Dan Campbell, bro, he called.
leave it.
He goes, Amon Ra is our he's our binky. We go to him when we need comfort. I told Sean that our boy Sean that too, and he said he called him Binky Boy. So that is what I will henceforth be referring to Amon Ra
From now
St.
on.
Brown, Binky Boy. Now, if I ever see him in person, he probably might punch me in the face for that, deservingly so. But if not, your head coach said it, bud. So you're Beaky Boy. And hey, Beaky
You heard
Boys
that.
go off. All right. And he did in this game, got another touchdown for the Lions. And yeah, setting up for he's going to be a key part. So, all right. Well, let's finish it out. So pick him standings, updating him. I still need the Packers game tomorrow, but I am sitting at 130 points with 2 weeks to go. You got another perfect week and bring your total to 114.5. And then Wesley has 101.5. So it's looking like I might, be able to lock this up with get myself an early rest to get the win here. Maybe we'll have to reset it so you guys have a chance and like do a little playoff game.
Okay.
We'll have to
Mm.
see there. But man, what an awesome NFL slate. To update it right now, Cowboys up 13-7, driving right now on the Bucks with 4 minutes left in the second half. So we will recap the second half next week, take a short break, and then we'll get into the college football playoffs the very first week on the other
Yes,
side.
sir.
See you in a bit. And welcome back to the college football portion of your favorite couch potatoes. Let's start it off with some news before we get into the playoffs, and we'll go through it quick because I really want to get into it. But start out with our boys, our U boys, Utah. Just a little bit of news here. Lil Willie, as my fiance likes to call him, Isaac Wilson, returning to Utah. So not finding much in the portal, maybe liking the offensive coordinator. Makes sense for him to return and be the backup next season. Hopefully, definitely get a season on the bench. So I'm not mad about this. I get entering the transfer portal, trying that, but yeah, Lil Willie's back.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest shocker, I was talking to Derek about this, and he kind of mentioned, I guess he went to go talk to BYU, because that's
Really?
where his brother went and played and whatever. But apparently, the rumor is that he asked for more NIL deal, and he just wasn't. They weren't budging for it.
Well, and
And
Reds because
also,
Retzloff's not. He has more eligibility, right? Like Retzloff's
yeah,
going to come back.
I think he probably has like 1 or 2 more years. But even then, like, why would you not want to go to what team that your brother played and made a name for himself? Maybe it's a different atmosphere for you. But regardless, they ended up not. Like, that's just rumors too, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
nothing
I heard
confirmed.
he only got talked to by Utah and excuse me UCLA, but that was like a Twitter thing I scrolled through and barely
Yeah,
saw.
so
So I don't know.
nothing's all official, but that was one of the ones that I heard was that BYU he went and talked to them and they weren't. Oh, that's what Derek was telling me. So,
Okay.
but I mean, ultimately, I think that this is probably best for him to come back
Yeah.
to Utah and continue to grow and continue to get better. Have a season where he's not having to be pressured into being the starter and being the guy where everything happens. Let it happen. If you have to come in and relieve the starting quarterback, oh well, but at the same time, get a time to be a backup quarterback and just kind of let yourself develop is the big thing. So
Yeah, I think it'll be perfect for him. Obviously, he was thrown in way too early. We could all see that. So hopefully that'll be good. Moving along, a little bit of Colorado news. I did see, I think I mentioned it earlier. Overwhelming consensus is that NFL GMs are saying that Travis Hunter will be or should focus on corner, or that's where they want him to be focused on. Do you think this is the right move, or do you think Travis Hunter will have a problem with this? What are your thoughts on this
yeah,
report?
I mean, even though those reports are coming in, I think Travis Hunter has said that he wants to be that dual threat, wide receiver corner, but it's just unrealistic in the
In the
NFL. It's
NFL,
a different game, a
mm-hmm.
different speed, and I feel like he would really benefit being a corner just because the way he's built, it's more of a corner player. And you have one of the best corners in Deion Sanders as your head coach that you could always go back to. So yeah, I really don't see that being a game changer for him to try to do both because it's just not going to work for anybody, regardless of who you are, right?
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I mean, I feel like he's probably going to be better at corner now. It's hard to say. He was really good at both, but
Yeah,
playing, like let's say he's the number 2 pick, let's say for I hope not, but let's say he goes to the New England Patriots, okay? Playing the Buffalo Bills on offense and defense not going to be the same as playing, the Baylor Bears on
yeah,
offense and defense, you know what I
100%.
mean? So like and that's even one of the better teams they played.
Well,
So,
and you look at the last guy that he who did the whole wide receiver and corner kind of defensive guy, Charles Woodson, right?
yeah,
Like he ended up focusing on the
and
defensive
became
end.
a
He didn't,
Hall of
yeah.
Fame corner. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So it's gonna be ultimately I think he's gonna have to choose one or the other, but he really is. You look at Sauce Garner, he has that same body frame. I think Sauce Garner is a little bit taller, but like yeah, I just don't feel like it's gonna be a good fit for him to try to run both because it's a different speed, and there's no way you're gonna be able to do it. You're gonna end up getting hurt.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
All right, and then some more news. Dion talked about my Billy Boy and says that he believes he will have an easier role. That's Bill Belichick in college than he did in the pros. So, like saying that he thinks Bill might obviously not have more success because he's the most successful, the GOAT, but like just as far as it'll be easier for him than it was for him to find success in the NFL. So,
yeah,
love to hear that from Dion, and given Bill is not, I think that he will be pretty good. Just based on his name, I think his name is going to bring a lot of recruits
right.
and establishing that pro program like we talked about, and helping to establish that. His son, nobody's really surprised about this, but Steve Belichick leaving Washington as the defensive coordinator to join North Carolina, and his dad as the defensive coordinator, so getting the same role there for him.
Yeah, I mean that's exciting for them to be able to work together. But I also agree with Dion. I think that this is gonna be an easier transition for Mr. Billy Mr. Billy Mr. Bill
Yeah.
Belichick. Just
The name
because the
throw you
name means
off.
something, So ultimately I think he's gonna build this program to where he's gonna be able to get offered into a bigger program even. I think he wants to grow this program, and the name itself, who wouldn't want to be part of and be on the team of being coached by Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, right? So
Right.
I
Exactly.
would just kind of hope that nothing moves fast and that he gets to learn. And same thing with his son. It's always sometimes it's hard to go into business with your family members and friends, but this is going to be a good opportunity for him to learn and continue to develop as a coach himself. And maybe even get an opportunity to be a head coach somewhere or when his dad leaves or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that was part of like a rumor is like he kind of wants to transition and give it to Steve
Right.
later on, so we'll have to see. I know he's a long time assistant with New England, so he's been with Bill for a while, so I definitely
Yeah.
can see them working together. All right, finish out the news. Again, a new every year we learn of a new college. This time Norfolk State. But it is of big news because the next head coach, you mentioned him earlier in the NFL section, Michael Vick, has agreed to become the head coach, man.
Mr. Vic.
So he talked about it. He talked about, I really appreciate, he was very humble and like, I really appreciate this opportunity that
Yeah.
they gave me without any experience. But I promise you, I'm coming in with a plan, I'm coming in with a team. And I think that he has some ties to it growing up and stuff like that. So
Great.
yeah, awesome for him, man. We'll see how Michael Vick, another big name, can do in college for a lesser program, but maybe he can bring them to some sort of relevancy
Hey,
for sure.
man, Deion Sanders started it that way with Jackson State, being at
Yep.
and actually Jackson State is doing really well this year. I was just looking at
Yep.
their record just a couple of days ago, actually, and they've been really well. And I think they are the division winners in their conference, against Sam Houston and all those other like good, decent schools.
Yeah.
But this is just another opportunity with Michael Vick to come in, start with a small school like this, and then maybe continue to rise. And hey, maybe if Dion ends up staying, maybe he might get him to come up to Colorado. I don't know. I don't know. But either way, it's good to see that Michael Vick's going to be able to get an opportunity to coach and really showcase his knowledge of the game and help young athletes develop into hopefully potential NFL players.
1000%, man. All right. Well, let's get into the bracket. So, your Oregon Ducks, we've talked about. Number one, they had the bye. Number two is Georgia. They also had to bye. Some news about them. Carson Beck will be out officially. We did not expect him to play. So they will be rolling with their backup for that matchup, which we will get into later. And then Boise State with the third seed bye, and then Arizona State with the fourth seed bye. Now, let's get into the matchups, baby. Let's start with the 5-12 Texas versus Clemson. Oh boy, we're so excited. It's going to be such a great game. It started out with some potential. Clemson, they got the early lead. They scored the touchdown, I think, on their first drive of the game. But then Texas explodes for 21 points in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Never look back. Get the 38-24 win in this one.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson just had all the talk, all they did talked, and they didn't do the walk. So, it tough game because even the start of the first thing that they did was disrespectful, is walk across the Texans logo as they were coming
Did
into the
they?
stadium. Yeah,
Jeez.
and they didn't care. They were like, "Well, we're here, we belong." And Texas running game, man, just looked like it never looked any better.
Yeah.
They were running and doing whatever they wanted. They were just smashing that football right in Clemson's backyard, front yard, side yard, whatever you want to,
Whatever they
everything.
wanted.
They just did it. So I mean, good win for the Texans. Sad ending for Clemson. Even though some people are still saying that they probably don't deserve to be there in somewhat with the Miami thing, but they did win it. So I
Yep.
mean that makes sense. But would that have made any difference if it was Miami against Texas? I don't think so. I think Texas are probably, I
You
would
think
love to say
maybe?
that Oregon is the favorite to win it, but like I realistically think Texas has the whole package.
Hmm.
So this was just a warm up game for them to continue to do what they need to do to get to that final game.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I think Miami might have, they obviously have Cam Ward, that explosive offense. They maybe, but like
Yeah.
that, like you said, Texas is on a different level, so they're definitely still going to win that game, I think.
Yep.
And that's the thing we're gonna see a lot of. That's going to be a theme of this first round, unfortunately. And you wonder about it going forward, right? Because let's get into the next matchup: Penn State versus SMU. This is the 6 versus 11 seed. But before we get into this game, I want to talk to you about this. So Penn State backup quarterback Bo Pribula, I believe. He entered the transfer portal and is leaving the team ahead and left the team, I should say, ahead of their playoff game.
Mm.
Now he did come out say he didn't want to do this. He wanted to finish the team with his or finish the season with his team with his guys. But it was a really tough decision because got to enter the transfer portal or he could miss an opportunity to start for another team. And it's just getting tough. So my big thing I think is like the timing of everything.
Yeah.
So Nick Saban came out, talked about this a lot. Like we need to have legislation, we need to have contracts and all this stuff.
Mm.
Like this, just going from the I think it was our boy Sean was talking about this where they have no money at all. You can't be paid anything. If you get even, a backdoor deal, you're going to be, done for
You
the
lose
season,
your
whatever.
Heisman.
Huge punishment. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. To yeah, just whatever the fuck you want. We're just gonna pay you whatever you want.
Yep.
Like, how do we think that was gonna be okay? You know what I mean? Like, so just to be like, oh yeah, okay, college players can be played or paid, and they can transfer whenever they want. Like we talked about that UNLV quarterback.
Yep.
He knew exactly what he was doing, man. He left at the third game. He probably knew he wasn't getting those $100,000 that he was promised, but like, hey, I can still play up until the third game, put some tape on for some other colleges,
Yeah.
and then they can come get me. We need to get some structure. I did listen to the interview. Again, shout out the Pat McAfee show. They had Ren Baker, I think his name is, the new NCAA president. And he seems like he's got a plan. He understands all these crazy things and that we need to have some structure. That's what we need, man. If we're gonna pay these players, they need to be a contract. Like seriously. All
Yep.
right, you're an incoming freshman, so freshman contract is going to be at least 2 years, 3 years, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Or some
You're a
kind of cap
senior,
space.
you have to be cap space. Exactly. Yes. Like that's why I think a lot of people are bringing in GMs and stuff like that. Like that's the thing. I almost don't blame this guy, this Bo Pribula guy.
Yeah.
You gotta look out for yourself. At the end of the day, that's who you got to look out for, right?
Yeah.
But it also is a shitty thing to leave your team. Your backup quarterback. A lot of you might not get a lot of fame. A lot of people don't talk about you, but it is one of the most important positions. We saw that, in the NFC Championship game that was with the Niners. I think when
Oh
they
yeah.
lost to the Eagles, when Brock Purdy goes down, and you have your backup quarterback, he went down, but if you don't have a good one, and even like if he didn't go down, their backup, I think Josh Johnson or something like that, maybe they still could have won that game.
Yeah.
Backup quarterback, very important. And going into a playoff game without him, man, That's crazy. So sorry, I know that was kind of a long rant, but this is just crazy. It definitely needs, like you said, cap space, contracts. We need to get so much more structure in college football.
Man, you know me, I could go off about this for a good mile, 2 mile, like 2 years, 3 years, kind of. We could do a whole podcast on just
Yeah.
NIL problem, but I like that's the biggest issue is that these teams, like I say it over and over again, it cost you $1 million to get a good quarterback. And
Hmm.
now this guy knew what he was doing, and unfortunately, him saying, "Oh, I feel bad to leave my guys." Then don't. It's the same thing Mario Cristobal's biatch did, right? Like he left right before the freaking playoffs and or in the playoffs, and
Hmm.
you're telling me you couldn't just not have waited
Well,
until
the
the
transfer
season
portal
was
win, but
over
that's the thing though that I think he really could because of the transfer portal window. It opens right now,
right
which
now.
is stupid.
Yeah,
In the middle of the playoffs, like, come
yeah,
on, like, and I
yeah,
think what they're talking about, what's hard is because you actually, you have to consider like the actual academics of everything, when semesters end and stuff like
yeah,
that. So you have to. That's I think that's what's making it like a little more complicated. But there's got to be a way to figure something
yeah,
out. Like if you're a college athlete, you can work around, academics in the sense where like you're if you're going to transfer or something. But yeah, man, something's got to be figured out because you can't have a situation like this. Like you're saying, I understand your point of view. Like, oh,
yeah,
like you're like you shouldn't be doing this, but at the same time, like, what's he going to do? Because Drew Aller is returning, so he came out and said he's going to return for his senior year. So this backup QB, all right, I know that I'm not going to be the starting quarterback, so
yeah.
it's just hard, man. And I think that's the thing, like what you're saying, your point, and all the things that upset you, which I understand. I think that a lot of it, at least, will be fixed with that kind of structure and
Hopefully.
figuring out all the
I mean,
timelines.
you could only hope for it because it's just out of control. And then there was the time where you had to wait a year before you could play after
Hmm.
hitting a transfer portal, and that's not there anymore. So it's just have made it easy to make it feel like an NFL free agency or even just an NFL trade deadline, right? Like you
Yeah.
get these players that want to go to a school and
But
they want
even
to,
worse than that, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like even worse than the NFL because just all kinds of trades and all kinds
yeah,
of I'm going to transfer. I saw like a guy that had a USC picture in his profile picture, Georgia tattoo on his arm in a Penn State uniform. Like no joke, real dude. Like that's the world we live in, and that's not fun for anybody.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So all right, let's get off of that, like you said, before we spend an entire 2 hours talking about that like we could. But this game, boy, again, another fucking blowout, dude. Drew Aller does, goes off and really, I don't even know if I'd say like he has a good game, but that the defenses,
SMU
man,
just, yeah,
even Penn State, their offense wasn't moving really that much. Well, what happened? Two pick sixes to start the
yeah.
game, man, and then another pick, and just all this shit. SMU gets embarrassed. Penn State 38-10, and boy, I bet Alabama fans real loud this weekend because that was kind of the team that I think SMU was the last team in based
Yeah.
on like you know the rankings or whatever. Because obviously Clemson gets the automatic bid, but damn, this is embarrassing, man. And it was not a game from the start.
Yeah, no, 100%. SMU just beat down on themselves from the start. SMU just kind of didn't look like they belonged there, just like Clemson did. And it's frustrating because you would hope that these games, there's a reason why it's a 12 format, and you would have hoped that it would have been better matchups where you don't have blowout games like these, but it happens. And especially
Hmm.
where it's the first year, things are going to happen and things are going to change, but yeah, it definitely was a disappointing game, and like Penn State finally looked good for the one game that really mattered, right?
Right,
Like
and but that's
because
the
of the
thing though. Like, what kind of team did they actually really play against? You know what I mean? You want to say that
yeah,
Penn State won a big game, but it's a playoff game. I get that, but yeah, I don't know. When
yeah,
SMU comes out there and looks like that, like I don't know. So, and then
yeah,
let's move into the 7-10 matchup. So this was the first game of the playoffs. It was on Friday night, Notre Dame, Indiana, and same shit, different day, literally. Notre Dame Dominates, man. They started the game,
Killed
I
it.
think 4 minutes into it, get a 98-yard touchdown run and never really looked back. The score ended up being 27-17, so kind of like the closest game you could say,
Yeah.
but Indiana got 14 of those 17 points in the fourth quarter. You could say garbage time, you know what I mean? And again, another guy so they had game day, and Kirk Herbstreit, big guy in there, saying Indiana didn't belong in the playoffs, and that's a Kirk Herbstreit definitely holds his own and has some credibility. And I you know me, I went for Indiana, so you're one up on me on these picks, but and I was rooting for him, like I said, out of my heart, and saying maybe Notre Dame could be upset, but Notre Dame went out and showed that they're a different class, in Indiana, like you said, maybe doesn't belong.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame looks like the other team that's a complete package. Marcus Freeman, he is a freaking good coach, man. They have a really solid team defensively, offensively. They continue to ball out, and they looked good, man. And Indiana just looked like they just did not belong there from the start. Their offense was not moving the ball. They're making dumb decisions, making dumb moves.
Yeah,
So I just felt like this was a game for more of Notre Dame to get warmed up to really show the big dogs that this is they're here to fight. They're here to get into these playoffs and do their thing as well. So I feel bad for Indiana, but I kind of like I said it when you picked that. I was like, yeah, that
mm,
Cinderella story.
yeah.
Somewhere, some other, they have to come to an end, and it came to an end with such a crushing their dreams and getting. And they, like you said, they came back somewhat towards the end, 10 points,
But
but
it's
still,
not a 10-point
no,
game. Like, it wasn't. Yeah.
no.
So, and then let's finish it out with what should have been, by the seeding, the closest game of the entire weekend: 8 versus 9, Ohio State and Tennessee. And yeah, it was the worst of all of them, man. I would say Ohio State 21-0 in the first quarter. I think there was 3 minutes left in the first quarter when they went up 21. So it was early, and it was often for these Ohio State Buckeyes. They get the statement 42-17 win over Tennessee, who's had some big wins this college football season. But Ohio State makes a statement and makes this weekend, unfortunately, first ever 12-team college football weekend, dud, I would say, man. But you know what? Maybe that's, you could say that's not true. We'll get into the matchups, but like, I don't know, man. What a terrible first round of the playoffs. I mean, you can't say that any of these games were good or entertaining. If you're a fan of the teams that won,
Yeah.
you feel good because you got to win, but over who? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, realistically, I just feel like Ohio State is on a revenge tour. Ryan
Hmm.
Day's job is going, on the line every game. Everything is on the line for them. So to me, I just feel like Ohio State right now has such a firepower behind them. They know what they're going for. They know all the things that are on the line for them. That's what kind of scares me a little bit in this next matchup because that first game we played against them, and we'll get into it. But yeah, so Tennessee, talk about
10
10%.
percenters.
They should be charged a 20%, baby. That was some dog shiz game, bro. They
Hmm.
definitely looked like they were the one team that definitely did not belong in that game. You get
out
blown
of a
out
week
forty-two
out of a weekend
seventeen.
full of that, like,
Yeah,
ugh,
and you were
you
the
had the best
lowest
chance or
seed.
whatever. Yeah,
Right,
like
right.
of the yeah.
Yeah, so I just feel like they definitely choked big time. I think that they would have. I was hoping for Tennessee because that would have gave us a different opponent that
Hmm.
we haven't played yet. But like I said, Ohio State just has the revenge tour bus going right now, and that bus is going full steam, baby.
Full steam. Right to what bowl game are you guys gonna play in?
Oh, I didn't see
Um,
the bowl game
haven't see.
name.
I can't remember what the bowl games are. I haven't paid that much attention to
I
it,
think they're
but
playing Rose Bowl. Actually,
Rose
sorry.
Bowl? You're right,
Yeah,
you're
because I
right.
saw
It
that
is
they
the
came
Rose
out with
Bowl.
new
Yes.
cleats.
Yes, the very and I saw the players, with the roses in their mouth after the game. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
The Rose Bowl. My definitely the best stadium I've ever been in. It's beautiful place there. Shitty traffic, shitty everything outside of the stadium, but
Yeah.
inside's pretty good. And yes, Ohio State traveling to the Rose Bowl to face Oregon, like you alluded
Equalers.
to, bud. We got the rematch, and this is what you were saying last week, man. Because I'll just mention this as well: the Penn State matchup, Boise State versus Penn State. So winning that Big Ten officially has made your road harder.
Yep,
Obviously.
100%.
Now we love Boise State. We love our boy Ashton Genty. If Oregon was playing Boise State, now they did struggle, barely won, but
That's a different
you
team
would
now.
much rather be playing Boise State right now, especially at the end of the season, not what game 2 or whatever it was when you guys are still figuring yourselves out.
100%.
Damn, man, that really does suck. I'm glad that we get this matchup, but this is a semifinal championship matchup right here.
Yeah.
You
No,
know what I mean?
100%. And
Yeah, not a quarterfinal. How are
yeah.
you feeling about this?
Yeah, I'm a little worried. I think that I'm hoping that the Ducks pull through somehow, and understand that, this revenge tour, revenge pick for the Oregon, it's gonna be harder for them. They can't just think that this is gonna be where they can figure out a rule that they can kind of manipulate and end up winning.
Mhm.
But I think
Yeah,
it's gonna be a good game. If Oregon ends up showing up as far as their defense, offensively, I think we've been able to keep up or just do just as better. But I think it's gonna come down to a defense where our defense shows up and they can somehow stop that high power, quick offense, especially where they have that dual running backs. And then I forgot his name, something Howard, the quarterback. He
Will
says that
Howard.
he's excited to play the Ducks again. So I'm still picking my Ducks to
Yes,
take this
sir.
one. I think that they still have there's a reason why they're the number one seed. I hope that this time off has given them all time to heal, time to think about, and I think Dan Lanning is doing something incredible there, and he's going to continue to do. So sorry, Ohio State. It's definitely a tough time to go through because even then, even our next opponent is even 10 times harder, if not.
Yeah.
So but I just think that Oregon has just a little bit just to kind of kill that engine on that revenge tour bus.
Yeah, I got to go with you too, man. I'm going to go with Oregon. I know that it's going to be hard to beat, a team like you've said, 2 times same season. They're on the revenge tour, but fucking, I've talked about him. I hate him now. He's the new Nick Saban. Dan Lanning, man, I believe in that guy to win. I believe
Yeah.
that he will have his team ready. And you want to talk about revenge tour? He's already probably got some shit cooked up to be like, no, it's our revenge tour. Like, everybody's saying it's theirs. No, it's ours. How about he's got something. I know that's Dan Lanning football. So I'm
Yeah.
rolling with your Ducks, man. I believe in him. You got a complete team, like you said. You listed it all out right there. So I 100% think Oregon's going to win this, man. And but you never know. You never know. Like, I shouldn't say 100%. I'm just saying I'm rolling with them, I guess. But Ohio
Yeah.
State definitely has a good chance. They lost by one, barely, like you said, with the rule thing. They definitely got a chance, man. And like I said, it sucks that this is a quarterfinal matchup because this would be a great. You could argue these are the two best teams left in the playoffs. You literally could. Like,
Yeah.
you could honestly say these are the two best teams left in the playoffs because of how everything shaked out. They ended up matching up, so we'll have to see. All right, next matchup: Georgia versus Notre Dame. So, like you said, we got the backup quarterback for Georgia, and then we got Notre Dame. I am going to pick against Notre Dame again. I'm thinking Georgia's going to take this one home, man. I know that it's a backup quarterback. He came in and he looked well, and I mean, they just got dogs. They got NFL players, like you said. I think that's what you said, right? NFL team. This all
Yeah.
like that's what I'm going to roll with. I'm picking Georgia in this one.
Last time somebody said that, he turned out to be an idiot.
Get myself
Um,
clipped. Uh
but
oh.
I just feel like Notre Dame has the luck of the Irish with them. I feel like they're doing things um that Georgia just doesn't have it. Last time I went with Georgia, I thought that they were a really good team, but so far some teams have been able to expose their weaknesses. And I think Notre Dame's going to be able to see what those weaknesses. Marcus Freeman, I believe in that guy, dude. He's a good coach. And I think he's going to be able to expose those, and especially now where they don't have Carson Beck and that's their freaking heart and soul guy. Like, I just feel like this is gonna be a tough game for Georgia. I could be wrong, and they could just bring out the NFL team and not the B team. But Same time, I think I'm going with Notre Dame. I think the
All
Irish
right.
have just a little bit of luck, a little bit more luck on their side. So,
Touchdown Jesus always to back him up, right?
mm,
Yeah, hey, that would be awesome. I think that would be upset of the year possibly, but hey, well, we'll have to see. That might be a
yep,
really good game. Might be the best. I know Oregon, Ohio State. Come on, that probably will be the best, but
yeah,
that might be a really good game too. We'll have to see. These other two, I don't know. Boise State, like we said, versus Penn State. I'm gonna take Penn State in that one.
yeah.
My heart wants to go for Boise State. I'm rooting for Boise State and our boy Ashton Genty. Hopefully, get the record at least. But Penn State just going to be more of a complete team, man. I think they'll get this one.
Yep, just like you said, short and sweet. You want Boise State to win it to kind of keep that Cinderella story going. But I think ultimately, I think Penn State is the better overall team. That Boise State is just Ashington Genty. I don't know if we've realistically talked about anybody else on that team, and the
Yeah,
quarterback is actually
quarterbacks have
pretty
had a
decent.
decent season. Yeah,
Yeah. So, but other than that, it's like it's just been Ashton Genty. So, how much longer can he carry
and what
them
can he
on
do
his
against a
back?
Penn State defense, right?
Ooh.
Versus what he's faced. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and
So
this is a better team overall, especially at this late in the stage of the season. That back's gonna start hurting soon, so I'm
yeah.
definitely going with Penn State as well in that matchup.
All right, and then finishing it out, Arizona State and Texas, the 4-5 matchup. But like you've said this whole time, Texas, man,
Out of
they
four or
are
five.
possibly the favorites, possibly the best team left. I'm taking. Shout out our Big 12. I don't know if you can call them friends. That seems so weird. I know it's good to write for your conference, but it's always felt weird for me. But shout out Arizona State and the run they've had, but Texas by a million in this one, man. I don't think
Yep.
Arizona State has a chance. Even with Cam Scattaboo, who I love, who I think will be an NFL player, I think Texas is gonna kill it.
Yeah, I couldn't echo that any better by saying only that Texas is gonna win by a trillion.
Ooh, he didn't even
Yeah,
double
this.
down; he tripled down on me.
Yep. Like it's not gonna. It's Arizona State has had a good season, but I just don't see them beating Texas. If they beat Texas, well, we would have to do something crazy.
Oh yeah,
But I just think that the Texas team is a complete team. That running game is just gonna run through Arizona State and right back to Texas and to celebrate. So good game, but realistically, I really don't think it's a 4 or 5 matchup. I just feel like it's
no,
more
just the way
like
it
a
worked
2 and 7 matchup
yes.
where Arizona is the 7 and Texas
Like
the
Georgia,
2.
Notre Dame, that's more a
Yep.
4 or 5,
Yeah.
or not saying Georgia's a 4, but that's a closer matchup
Yep.
like you would think, yeah.
100%.
So, yeah, man, hopefully these matchups, I have good hopes for Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, Notre Dame. The other 2 games, I don't know. We'll have to see. We just gotta hope for some better games. I still like it, you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
these chances, there's these upset. It's better than just having, 3 playoff games, 2 semifinals in the championship, but
Yep.
it has kind of sucked that you definitely
Felt
see
like that
that there's
now.
not that much parity. There's
Yep.
the big dogs at the top, and then there's everybody else. So,
Yeah.
well, we'll just have to hope for a better weekend this weekend, man. So we'll definitely make sure to keep you all updated. That is it for another episode of your favorite couch potatoes. Feisty, thanks for joining me again. And thank you all for joining us. We'll catch you next week and make sure we drop these episodes every Thursday on YouTube and Spotify, as well as dropping all the clips on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and TikTok. While we have it, I don't know. We might be losing TikTok here. We'll have to see, but we'll post it while we can. And make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to everything, man. Really help grow the program. We'd appreciate it. So that's all I have for you. Until next time, we'll catch you on the couch. See ya.